You want to tell me the guitars you have here first?
Yeah, these are three Rogue lap steel guitars on legs. They were when I bought them, they were $80. They're nothing special, except for me, they're perfect because they lie flat, so you can prepare them. You know, when you play guitar like a guitarist plays, the alligator clips are always flopping all over the place, but here they stay stable. I put two strings on here and put a bolt in there, and I can prepare this besides with a slide. I can weave stuff into the strings and they will stay on them really clearly and easily. So these are my unorthodox guitars.
Immediately, that sounds like the record. What's your tuning?
It's a low E. It's just an E. It's
E
a
drone.
Post Glen Branca. But
And the other
people were doing
two?
drones before. These are, they're just this low E flat, somewhere between an F sharp and a G sharp, C sharp. But then also, it tells me where I put the alligator clips so that they don't.
I was going to say, you've got them mapped out, the alligator
Yeah,
clips.
it's mapped out.
I want to point this out. There's nothing random here. This is all
Yes.
logical.
Right, and I wouldn't call it logical, dream logical, but I'm doing a lot of bending, which is kind of like something Harry Parch might do when he's mimicking, a Chinese chin or a koto or something. And so when I do that enough, the strings are bound to go a little out of tune. But the gist of it is that I start every show with the same type of tuning, and I know that when it goes, it's approximately going to sound like that.
Are you aiming for microtonality here? Is that a specific thing you want, or is it an after effect?
I don't have a specific microtonality in mind. I just don't want it to be tonal and the normal. I want as soon as you put an alligator clip on the strings, it disrupts the natural harmonic series. And in nature, there is no harmonic series. So I just made it so that the harmonic series wouldn't appear, except for in rare instances by accident, on these two guitars. Whereas this one, but if you play it like this, you've got 6 notes within a half a step, and so it's a pretty interesting sound. And then you can get it. You can also make it so it's a specific pitch too. So
You've got 4 alligator clips there and 1 screw. You have a specific reason you don't have more screws, less alligator clips when you've got them over here again?
Well, the alligator clips are really, really useful, as everybody knows from Fred Frith's first solo album cover. But I had a dream when I was camping with Deb one time, and in the dream I was talking with Lee Ronaldo, who in fact I have played with, and I thought, well, what if we put 2 strings together on the same thing and then prepare? Well, first it was just to have them together, but they cancel each other out, so it's just a percussive sound. But then I thought, well, here's a chance to put a bolt in there. So it's a little too low. It needs to come up a little bit. I mean, all I did was just move it a little bit, and the sound is pretty radically changed. I have the bass on, and prepared piano. And pianos, there's usually 3 strings or 2 strings, so you can put bolts and earplugs and nails and stuff in. But guitars are only 1 string generally, and so alligator clips are the only things that really stick on there really, really well. You can do, of course, many other things, but because I treat these as if it's a portable prepared piano more than a guitar. I wanted to try one with the 2 strings that I had that dream with me talking with Lee about, and then I put the bolt in, and it really, it functions almost like a go-go bell in Latin music. Sometimes it adds a little clarity to some of the things that might be a little vaguer. A lot of cool preparing things. I'm a big fan of this, but I use this only on the Strat. It's like a pulley, a chain or a rope goes around it. They're like about $250 or $350 at the hardware store.
$2.50.
Yeah. So they're slides first of all, but because they're round, and then because they have edges, they make big jumps, and the farther up the neck here towards the pickup, the bigger the jump is. The same 3/4 of an inch down here. is just a fret, and up here it's like a fifth. You know, so it's, and they have a nice rough edge, so you can really get it. So it almost acts like a metal bow at times. It's just one of my favorite slides. You got to hold them like this, though. So it's, when American Fenders were made by somebody else, CBS or somebody,
Yeah.
they were not very good guitars, but the Japanese saved the day, and this was a 62 reissue, a reissue of a 62 Strat, and it plays just incredibly beautifully. It had really kind of the red was cracking, and so I decided that I needed a guitar. I was a good enough guitarist that I deserved to have my guitar. So I had it stripped. I had one of my drawings laser etched into the wood. These are also my drawings on my shirt. And then I had, you know, everybody keeps the first pickup and puts the humbucker back here, pretty common. But then I really wanted one that you could yell into, but he couldn't find one of those pickups at the time. But so it's like a K, and it's real, you know, like there's this classic beefy Fender tone like Hendrix would get, and then there's, you know, the more edgy thing, and then the middle one is kind of gentle, but sometimes that's what you want. So there's three really different tones on the guitar. I'm not really a big pedals guy, but because of what I'm doing here, where it's a solo electric guitar ensemble, I have to make these four guitars sound like a orchestra, you know. And so what I knew I needed an octave down, and it really works on the Rogues because it makes them sound more like a tom-tom or a kick drum or a bass, sometimes in between. So that's, you know, it's pretty straightforward. I love the East River Drive. It just sounds like you're overdriving an amp, and it's Electro-Harmonix. I personally love them to pieces. The Kingmaker, it's a fuzz tone made by Source Audio, and they've made two other pieces here. I love Source Audio. It's not a fuzz tone I would use in a rock band, but this is not a rock band. And it's got when you combine it with this, it automatically kind of brings up the upper octave, you know, which sometimes feedback will do. So it's a really cool sound. So at the top of the chain, actually, besides the tuner, is a Walrus amp modeler, because I have stereo out, so I don't go into an amp, but I want a nice sound. And also I have, like, sometimes there's 6 or 7 guitars playing in the loops, and if I had a good tone on the amp, that tone would be crushed. So I start with something resembling a deluxe reverb, which is a really, you know, a basic, beautiful sounding amp. And that's what I do to start with, so that it doesn't sound phony. The Rush piece there, that's for when it's a booster. It's just purely a booster when I have like 3 or 4 loops going at the same time, and I want something to stand out more. It doesn't alter the tone. It's a gain tweaker. This is it's a tremolo stereo. This is where things start going stereo, so it's going really fast back and forth. Andrew Willison Trinary System called that the UFO sound. That's the only one I really use here because it's enough. It's a really beautiful tone. Source Audio did a custom version that I designed patches for, and it had the Mission of Burma versus Flowers on it, and it was the versus tremolo, which was, at the very least, amusing to me, and I don't have a copy of it. I gave them all away. For the flashback, the main thing I use the flashback for the TC Electronics is it's got a really nice reverse delay. I mean, you can get those a dime a dozen now anyways, but it's really nice. And then sometimes I also use their chorus. I'm not a big chorus fan in rock music, but it can be real nice and dreamy in the manner of this work that I'm doing. And then the clincher here is, I'm gonna do this one because this is the most interesting patch. helix. It adds an octave higher and it delays it away at the same time, and some backwards, I think, also. It's like real trippy, and it's so diverse. Sometimes I use it for a slapback. Sometimes I use it for a delay of the decays. I use it in lots of different ways. The Nemesis delay, it's a really incredibly powerful delay made by Source Audio. And all these things, when they go together, they crosstalk, and I can't. You would just have to listen to it. So that's all Rogues is playing there, but I have the octave down to give that bass tone a little more depth. I think right there you have the bass on and the East River Drive just to give them a little oomph. The Boomerang 3, it's really an amazing, if you're this far into loops like I am. There's 3 discrete loops. Each one, this one I layered up. So there's technically 4 different things going at the moment. Bass line, a high chinky thing. Bass line is twice, and then there's another kind of rhythm thing. But each one of these can be, it's easy to make it go backwards. And then octave down. And while that sounds kind of gimmicky right there, there's ways to use those things that are just mind-blowing. And then there's 2 other loops I can use here. They're completely not in sync. If I started on the 3rd one, they would all be in sync, but I don't like them to be in sync. I would rather them be out of sync so that you have counter things going, which is how dreams work anyways. So I can have different things going in different places. Some are just audio that you forgot about earlier, and then I just bring them in as just little events. And they can all be octave down and reversed. And after that, I'm like right there, technically there's 4 guitars playing right in that groove, all Rogues.